welcome to Enough and Evolving podcast. I'm your host, Tiona Vallejo, Master Certified Life Coach and Mindfulness Expert, helping you reclaim confidence, break through unhelpful patterns, and manifest the relationships in life you desire. Now let's get started. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. So glad to have you here. I am so excited about what we're talking about this week. What if the biggest thing sabotaging your confidence isn't your circumstances, but the way you speak to yourself every day? Today, we're diving into self-talk. We're going to talk about some of the most common patterns that I see in my clients and women in midlife. These patterns become the unconscious traps that keep many of us in a state of stress and dysregulation in our nervous system. And by bringing awareness to them, you can empower yourself and create more ease and joy in your life. Today, I'll be sharing the 3 patterns that I see most often, and that includes dramatic language, obligatory language, the have-to trap, and self-defeating language. Stay with me till the end, and you'll also learn ways to shift out of these sabotaging languages and into a more empowered mindset. So let's dive in. Now, dramatic language. What do I mean by that? It sounds a lot like an exaggeration. Like I never have enough time. I never have enough money. I never have enough support. You get the picture, right? Or I always have to do everything on my own. I always am stuck with this or that. Or everything falls on me. Or nothing works out the way I plan. You can see that everything, nothing, always, this language creates this sense of all or nothing, and there's a heaviness. It intensifies the emotional suffering that is involved around the subject, right? Our brains naturally love to overgeneralize, but this little white lie, these exaggerations, can be so harmful. They lead to so much internal suffering. While they may seem really kind of funny in the moment at times, what they're really doing is they're causing your nervous system to react, and you're teaching your brain what to expect. See, your brain has a filtering system that focuses on information that you program as important. For instance, our senses take in about 1 billion bits of external data per second. However, to minimize our brain energy usage, our conscious mind only takes in 10 bits per second. What does this mean? It means that our minds are wired to perceive only what we program ourselves to look for, not for the full truth of what is. And that is why what you train your mind to see and believe becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe in the past you've had that experience where you were doing some car shopping and you wanted to get, say, a white Mercedes Benz. And all of a sudden, as you're looking around, you start seeing these white Mercedes everywhere, right? This is your reticular activating system. It's that filtering system that has your brain just specifically focusing your energy on what you're deeming as important. Now, when you're car shopping, that's fun, right? That really helps you out look for what you're wanting. It's not that there are like so many more of these cars all of a sudden that just came into existence. It's just that your brain has now filtered what you're seeing, and you are seeing what it is that you're believing is important to you. Now, this can work against you when you're having that dramatic self-talk that says, I always have to pick up after everyone in the house, or I never have any of my family members consider my feelings or whatever. Whenever you're using that kind of dialogue, it's intensifying your emotional suffering. And it's teaching your brain to always look for those instances, that evidence that supports that belief. Yuck, right? Who wants that? Of course you wouldn't. And I'm not sharing this with you so that you use this information against you. This is all new, most likely. Don't use any of this against you. Use it for you. Now that you know what dramatic language can do to your energy, to your nervous system, to your mindset, become more aware of it. Call yourself out. When you're noticing yourself saying these things, pause for a moment and actually tell the truth. The truth is, just in this moment, I'm feeling like this specific thing is falling on me. And then maybe even question that. Now, let's move on to the second trap that I see a lot of people fall into. And definitely I myself have had my share and do fall into these three categories at times as well. So it is important to create awareness around them. And that is the obligatory language, that have to trap that we tend to fall into. When we're using this type of language, we're buying into this identity of my needs don't matter because I have to do this. And we're believing that my desires basically aren't important. And this undervalued perception becomes your identity. Now think about it. When you have a particular thought, belief, or a mindset that affects your body, you might feel like your posture slumps forward. You may feel a heaviness in your shoulders. Your diaphragm will become compressed, leading to shallow breathing and a decrease of the blood flow and energy in your body. When you're feeling that way, of course, you don't feel like you have a lot of motivation or excitement about life, because life will then feel like a burden. So this language of I have to do this, I have to do that, really steals your joy. It becomes your identity. And that obligatory language cultivates so much resentment and a victim mindset, leaving you feeling powerless. Now imagine for a moment that you start to shift this pattern from I have to into I want to. Now, some of you might say, now, I don't want to. And that is the whole point, my friend. When you say I have to, you're abandoning yourself. You're forcing yourself to do things against your truth, or at least that's what you're telling yourself. And yet you may still argue with me, but I have to take care of my responsibilities. I have to take care of my kids. I have to clean the house. I have to pay the bills. I have to make dinner for my family. And the reality is, you don't. You're just choosing to see this as a demand on yourself, when in actuality, you always have a choice. Take that in for a moment. You always have a choice. You have a choice to believe you have to, or believe that you choose to. Notice how differently those two land in your mind, your body. You have a choice to say, yes, I want to do this, or no, this does not align with me. You have a choice to take care of your responsibilities or not to do any of it. Will you have consequences Sure, of course, we always have consequences. And the current consequences you're creating for yourself is a life of imprisonment. If you want to feel more free, you have the key to unlock yourself from the illusion of burden. You can choose to own every choice you make. And when you do this, you align yourself with your power. You stop creating the identity of someone who is undervalued, unsupported, or a martyr to someone who owns her decisions and creates the life that you desire. I can remember a time when I was feeling a lot of resentment towards my husband, and we were having a family party and noticing that state of having to do everything to make everybody else happy. And it was during this time that I was first working with a coach, and I was realizing this concept that I don't have to do everything that my mind is believing that I do. And at that moment, my son was in the swimming pool, and I was running around the house trying to make sure everything was perfect and trying to put everything out. And then I just stopped and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just go jump in the pool with him? And I did it. I did it. I let myself free from this idea that I needed to do X, Y, and Z for this party. And I just let myself go and jump in the pool. And it was the most fabulous feeling. And I was so present with him, enjoying that moment. I will never forget that level of permission that I started to live by. And there wasn't anything that I had missed or fallen short on. At the end of the day, the party was fine and it was wonderful. I mean, yes, people came in the door and I was in the pool, and that was okay. My husband just had to tell him where I was. And so the point being is you always get to choose, and taking time to really decide what is most aligned for you is how you support yourself, how you take care of your energy. So the third and final pattern that I notice in my clients and most people is that there is this self-defeating language that we often have. And it sounds a lot like, I'm behind, I'm such a mess, nothing works out for me, I'm too much, I'm too emotional, I'm so dumb, I don't know what's wrong with me, I'm too old, or I'm not worthy. And if that sounds like you, please know you are not alone. This is again so common. And noticing the emotional effects that these thoughts create is raising your consciousness. Noticing the identity that you take on when you are believing these things, the behaviors that follow these thoughts is so essential to shifting out of these self-defeating responses. Now, these limiting thoughts are most likely on repeat, and they're shaping your nervous system. So that if you're facing a challenge and your mind automatically starts rattling off these thoughts, then your nervous system gets cued into danger and your body goes into fight or flight. So of course you feel stressed, your jaw tightens, your stomach clenches, and you're in a state of dysregulation in your nervous system. That is now prompting anxiety, creating this cycle. Then you start thinking those thoughts more. So if you've been in this cycle, it's feeding on itself. And again, the awareness is the first step to stopping the cycle. Now, when you notice the thoughts spiraling in the moment, there are two options to soothe yourself. Number one, a thought dump. Take out a blank piece of paper and let all of these thoughts onto the paper. Just let your mind just throw up those thoughts, right? That can be a very cathartic way of getting all of this out of your head and separating yourself from these thoughts. Number two, most likely you'll need to regulate your nervous system. So that means to go into your body, not fight the thoughts in your mind, trying to arm wrestle mentally. Instead, go into your body. Find a quiet space where you can place your hands on your heart. You can breathe in and remind yourself that you are safe, that it's safe to experience the situation that you're experiencing, and that you are present, continuing to breathe. And when you practice this regulation, you'll come back to the present moment, create a sense of groundedness so that your mind isn't reeling into those spiraling thoughts. This is what real self-love is. This is what real self-compassion looks like. Recognizing when you are going off the tracks and bringing yourself back to inner safety. You can create positive affirmations. Just make sure that they're believable. They have to be felt for them to work. I'm going to do a separate podcast all about affirmations coming up soon. So keep an eye out for that. Now, quick note, your goal isn't perfection here. Your mind will always offer you lots of varying degrees of thoughts, and that's okay. That's totally human. What's important is to increase your awareness of what you're believing and to practice intentional self-talk. Repetition is what creates new neural pathways. So whatever you are repeatedly thinking, that's what is going to get strengthened. If you want to change the pattern, then you need to practice repeating the new thoughts. This week, I invite you to become aware of what your mind is saying and to imagine what might change in your life if you chose a more empowering statement. How might your nervous system shift? Or maybe your body change? To step into a new version of yourself, this is the work that will create emotional safety, self-trust, nervous system regulation, and allow you to embody a new identity. Now, thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed what you heard, please scroll to the bottom of this episode and leave a comment. Your reviews help the podcast get out to more people, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you for your time and reviews. As always, I appreciate your presence, and I want to remind you, you are enough and you're always evolving. If you're listening to this and you're recognizing yourself in these patterns, this is exactly the work I do inside my coaching. This isn't something you have to figure out alone. If you're ready to feel more confident, grounded, and self-trusting, I'd love to support you. Check out the show notes to book a consultation coaching call today.